third leading cause of death in Canada is stroke. It occurs when a vessel carrying blood to the brain is either blocked or ruptured. It's also a leading cause of adult disability. Survivors may need help with daily activities such as eating, bathing, dressing, and walking. A stroke can happen at any age, and in fact, a Heart and Stroke Foundation study estimated that a stroke happens about every 5 minutes in Canada. Now, my guests today are Amelia Leslie, Program Director for VON Stroke Services, and Dan, a stroke survivor. Amelia, let's start with prevention. High blood pressure is the #1 risk factor, but what else can increase the risk of having a stroke?
Thanks, Jenny. So there are a variety of different modifiable risk factors that we can look at to prevent stroke. Stroke from occurring and stroke from reoccurring. So high blood pressure being a very common one. Also looking to manage other conditions like high cholesterol or diabetes or heart conditions. There are different lifestyle choices like healthy eating or exercise that are really important as a part of our daily routine to help reduce the risk of stroke.
Okay, so chances we've all seen those TV ads describing stroke warning signs. Can you identify them and tell us a little bit more about why it's critical to act fast?
Thanks, Jenny. So that FAST is a key acronym to remembering those signs and symptoms of stroke. So we want to think about checking if there's any drooping in the face. We can ask the person to smile. A for arms, ask the person to raise their arms, look for any weakness in one side. And S for speech, ask them to say something simple and listen for any slurred or jumbled speech. That T is for time, because time is brain and stroke is a medical emergency. So it's time to call 911 if you suspect that you or someone you know is having a stroke. So those FAST signs are the most common signs of stroke. But there are other signs and symptoms that people may experience as well to be aware of, such as the sudden severe onset of headache, nausea, disruption to balance, eyesight. But remembering to act fast is the quickest way to help.
Approximately 1.9 million brain cells die every minute during a stroke. So yes, getting emergency care is essential.
Yeah, that's why we say time is brain. So when you call 911 after you recognize those fast signs of stroke, letting the dispatcher know that you think that you or someone you know is having a stroke is really important. They can start to let the paramedics know to prepare for code stroke and the hospital as well, so they can get those necessary procedures and tests ready for us.
Now, I mentioned some of the physiological impairments that a stroke survivor may have, but I want to talk about one specific outcome, and that is aphasia.
Some estimates suggest 30% of stroke survivors will be affected by aphasia. So that's a language and communication disorder that affects their ability to produce speech, understand speech, and our reading and writing, but does not affect intelligence. So there are simple communication, supportive conversation techniques that we can do for each other in conversation, like keeping to one topic at a time, giving each other time to process the information, respond, and using other means to communicate, like drawing or pictures, keeping that pen and paper handy.
Okay, so Dan is a stroke survivor and did have, and still has, I guess, aphasia.
I do.
So Dan, maybe you can tell us about your experience?
Well, shortly I've had 3 strokes. One in March 2021, and it was it caused the aphasia and paralyzing left side of my body. I was able to walk and through therapy. The speech took a little longer. It took years to be able to communicate like I am now. And it's still a work in progress, but I'm getting through it.
So let's loop back to VON. How has the VON Stroke Services helped you, Dan?
I think the biggest thing is the when you get past the therapy, the techniques that have been taught to you, The VON's there to bring you together with fellow survivors for support. And that's one of the keys, is they have, you're dealing with people on a one-to-one basis, first-person conversations about tricks and trades that they've done to help them manage their stroke and get better at their aphasia.
Amelia, if a stroke survivor or family member needs help, how do they get in touch? And can you tell us more about the programs you offer?
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. So people can call or email or stop by our office. So we're located out of our Greater Kingston Victorian Order of Nurses site here in Kingston. So you can contact us for up-to-date program information and schedules. So some of those programming and schedules include our in-person support groups in Kingston, Sydenham, and Napanee, our Zoom groups happening all throughout the week. We have our education group and conversation group with speech-language pathologists. We have a variety of different resources people can connect to learn about stroke and aphasia. Maybe they work with someone or someone they know. Maybe they want to connect to join a group and meet other survivors or caregivers and learn about those tips and tricks to apply.
One of the interesting scenarios that I want everybody to know in Ontario, well, if you have a stroke, it's imperative that you have in place some provisions that if you can't talk and you've had a stroke, they cannot remove a clot from your brain without authorization, your approval. So it's critical that you have something in place if you can't talk. I found that out in my second stroke. I was able to talk and they were able to remove it. But if you can't, be aware that in Ontario, a surgeon cannot remove a clot without your consent.
Thank you both for providing some very important information about a very important medical issue.
Thanks, Jenny.